Here's today's First Word Daily Devotion.
On April the 30th, we turn to a very familiar judge. We turn to a long section, Judges chapter 6 and 7. This is one of the significant judges in the book of Judges. Of course, his name is Gideon. But before we get there, let's look at the pattern. Look at chapter 6 and verse 1. The people of Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord gave them into the hand of Midian 7 years. And remember, this is exactly what Moses said was going to happen. This is exactly what was prophesied by Moses, saying that you don't have a heart to obey. You're not going to be able to obey. And so we're seeing that play out significantly in the book of Judges. And so look at the pattern. The people of Israel did what was evil. And then look at verse 6. Israel was brought very low because of Midian, and the people cried out for help to the Lord. And then verse 7, here's the response. When the people of Israel cried out to the Lord on account of the Midianites, the Lord sent a prophet to the people of Israel. And so this is interesting. The pattern is sort of repeated. Instead of sending a judge right away, the Lord sends a prophet. Why is that significant? Because remember, it's the word of the Lord that is the reason for the people's trouble. They don't obey the word of the Lord. But the word of the Lord is also the people's hope. If they will obey, if they'll put their heart to the word of the Lord, then they'll be saved. And so before we have Gideon coming, we have a prophet coming, and that's significant. And of course here we have Gideon. He was beating out wheat in the winepress to hide it from the Midianites. The angel of the Lord appeared to him and said, "The Lord is with you, O mighty man of valor." And by the way, that's sort of tongue-in-cheek, because Gideon, he doesn't start out by any regard as a mighty man of valor. He sort of seems weak and needs to have his confidence reinforced. This is always encouraging for me, because I realize that the Lord uses these types of people. Hopefully it's encouraging for you. And anyway, verse 13, Gideon said to him, "Please, my Lord, if the Lord is with us, then why have all of these things happen?" And so here the angel said, "The Lord is with you." And Gideon's response is, well, it really doesn't seem like the Lord is with us. And then, of course, the verse 16, the Lord said to him, "But I will be with you, and you shall strike down the Midianites as one man." So in other words, the angel says, the Lord is with us. The response is, it doesn't seem so. And the Lord responds back with, well, you just wait and see. And so here we have again this instance of the fleece. Don't miss this in verse 36. Here is the Lord reinforcing the confidence of Gideon. Here's the Lord showing Gideon that he is going to be with him. And of course, the Lord reduces the army of Gideon down to his famous 300 men. In verse 6, the number of those who lapped, putting their hands to their mouth, was 300 men, but the rest of the people knelt down to drink water. And I remember going over to this particular spring over in Israel, and I remember revisiting this section to make sure that I was lapping up the water right so that I could be one of Gideon's 300 men. I didn't want to do it wrong. I wanted to follow the biblical pattern and lapped by putting their hand to their mouth instead of going into the water because of thirst. And so anyway, there's a certain picture of me somewhere doing that, someone captured, of me making sure that I drank the water just right. And look at verse 15. As soon as Gideon heard the telling of the dream and its interpretation, he worshiped. And so here we have the Lord reinforcing his confidence again and again and again. And that story is encouraging to me, because all of us need the Lord who's called us to do great things. All of us need the Lord to reinforce our confidence. And the story of Gideon tells us that the Lord is ready to reinforce our confidence. All we have to do is hope and trust in him. Now let's turn over to John chapter 7. And we have this here, John 7:53 through chapter 8 and verse 11. And we have a note in the ESV Everyday Bible, a note that says the earliest manuscripts don't include this section. And so why is that even here? And why is that note even here? Doesn't that note sort of cast suspicion on the authority of the Bible? And the answer to that is absolutely not. The editors of this modern translation, they put in these footnotes to let all the skeptics know, as well as all those unbelievers, that the believers have nothing to hide. And so the Bible has been under scrutiny for, well, ever since it was written. And here's what we say as those who are people of the book. We say as those who are formed by the book, let me make that clear. We say that we have a book, and in that book is the revelation of God. And we have nothing to hide, and it can withstand any scrutiny that you put into it. So verse 11 of this passage in John 8, she said, "No one, Lord." And Jesus said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go from now on and sin no more." This is what Jesus has come to do. He's come to seek and save the lost ones, and part of that seeking is to seek them where they are. And as He saves them, He takes them from where they are to where they should be. Psalm 109 then. Psalm 109 is a prayer, and it is a justice for us to know the steadfast love of the Lord. Look at verse 4. I give myself to prayer. And what is it that we need to pray? Look at verse 26. Help me, O Lord, my God. Save me. And how or what basis do we have for the Lord to save us? Look at this verse. Save me according to your steadfast love. Now, as we've been reading the Bible, here's what we know. The steadfast love of the Lord knows no boundaries. And if that's what we're basing our salvation upon, then we have every reason to rejoice.